Hey, it's Brad Gannon here from the Brand Theo Real Estate team, and I want to talk to you today about one of my favorite things, and that's upsizing. But I'm going to tell you right off the top something you probably didn't expect to hear from a real estate agent, and that's I actually think the market could get softer from here before it recovers. So why is it a good time to upsize? It's not just a pitch. This is what I really believe. This is what I tell my family or good friends right now. Let's get into the math and some reasons why 2026 might be your opportunity to upsize. So the first thing I want to talk about is inventory, because right now there's a lot of it. And that might sound like a bad thing if you're going to be selling and making a move, but hear me out. When you upsize, you're more of a buyer than a seller. Yeah, you got to sell your property, but the biggest size or the largest part of the transaction is actually the purchase. And right now, inventory is your friend. You've actually got choice. You can get out there and look around and find the perfect house for you. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've helped a lot of clients upsize in different markets, and that includes some screaming hot markets like in 2016, 2021. Anybody remember? And I'll tell you, there's parts of it that are fun, the selling part, but buying, it's brutal. Like it can be really, really tough. You're going out there, you're at an open house or your first viewing, there's so many other people, there's all this buzz, there's pressure, there's hype, and then you've got to quickly decide if you're going to meet an offer deadline and perhaps submit a bid with up to 10 or even more other offers. Subject free, forget inspection, like it's a lot. And right now, it's not like that. You can actually think about it. You can actually go look at some houses. You can take a day. You can sleep on it. Upsizing is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll probably ever make. Don't you want to do it with a little bit less pressure, a little more clear head, and not that much competition? It's just a lot more relaxed. I think you're a lot more likely to make a really good decision and find the perfect house for you. So for me, it's not even close. I'd much rather buy and upsize in a market like this than one that's screaming hot. Now, let's look at the next point. Okay, the second point, and this is the one I really want you to think long and hard about, is the point a lot of people miss, and that's focus on the gap, not just what you're going to sell for. And it's easier said than done, I admit. When people sell, they're really focused on, okay, I paid this much for it, I want to get this much, or they're focused on what the neighbor sold for last year. And it's tough to get your head around, like, I might not get that price, or I might take a little bit of a loss. Like certain people that bought in 2024, you might have paid 850 for a condo that's now only worth 810 or 820. You might be a little bit even under. But if you get focused on that 30,000, 40,000, you might miss a much bigger opportunity that's up there and you might be focused on the wrong thing, which should be the gap. I've talked about that in other videos, the gap between what you are selling and what you're buying, because I really predict in a lot of circumstances right now, that's actually shrunk to the most manageable and affordable level that it has in years. I would say, especially for condo buyers that are going up to townhouse or townhouse buyers that are going up to detached. That's mostly what I'm talking about. So for those in those circumstances, a house that used to sell, say, in Burnaby for 2.6 has maybe come down to 2.1. That's $500,000. Maybe your townhome's only gone down 100,000. Well, that gap has shrunk by 400,000. Don't miss that point. Don't miss that affordability factor. And what you also need to think about, and I think nobody's thinking about this right now, what is going to be the better investment for you 3, 4, 5 years down the road when the market does finally flip? I don't know when that is. I'd be lying if I said it is. Anybody says it's happening right away. Like, I don't think it's happening this summer or fall. You have a spring that's been this soft, and then this is May 2026. We're talking. It's not likely to take off or dramatically change, I'd say, for the remainder of this year. But at some point it will. At some point it'll start to go out. And in Vancouver and Burnaby and like the surrounding areas, we have seen spring markets where the detached market, an entry level house goes from 1.2 to 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, where another year where it's entry level home is 1.5 that goes up to 2 million. Like it can jump 3, 4, 500,000. And that's what this graphic and this slide is trying to emphasize. Is your condo or townhome likely to appreciate faster than a detached home? No. But is your condo likely to appreciate more than a townhome? No. More space is definitely more valuable, and it's going to be more and more that way with I think down the future. And that's one of the trends we're seeing. So focus on if you're focused on long-term wealth building and just comfortability and livability of your space, it might be an excellent time to consider upsizing. So the third point, and this is a big one, is that hot markets are actually kind of dangerous for upsizers, especially if you're waiting for that hot market to start to sell into. Now, we all love the idea of selling into a hot market. It really is, can be a lot of fun. You do an open house and the offers start rolling in, and everybody loves seeing the numbers go up. But what happens then? Then you got some cash in hand and you're out there competing with a lot of other buyers that have also just sold. And that's where we see people start to almost make panic decision, start driving prices up. And in those parabolic moves and in those really hot markets, sometimes people are left holding the bag. And when the market corrects or turns like we're seeing right now, you can be underwater fast and sometimes significantly. So over the last 20 years, some of the decisions I've seen people regret is when they buy in those crazy markets, making decisions when they've been panicked or been under a lot of stress because they've sold or because there's bidding wars and everything that they look at. The parabolic markets and those hot markets can feel exciting. They might feel like we have to wait for that to sell, but I'll tell you, if you're doing a transition, upsizing or downsizing, boring is underrated, balanced or even soft market can be a lot more enjoyable and a lot more rewarding in the long run to make a move in. Look, I want to be straight with you. I don't know exactly when this market is going to turn. And like I said at the start, I actually predict it could get a little bit worse before it gets better. But here is what I do know after 20 years in this business and doing over 700 transactions that the gap for upsizing between a condo to a townhome or a townhome to a detached home is more manageable than it has been in many years. And the process of completing that sale or transaction of upsizing is a lot more sane in a market like this than it is in a crazy one. The risk of buying at a peak has been reduced. And I know also that the bottom of a market is a time when nobody ends up buying. The sentiment is so sour. I think we're getting close to that. If you can sell right now and take advantage of this market, I think you'll be in the driver's seat as a buyer and you might get a great home that your family will love. However, all these numbers are still situational. It's going to depend a lot on, you know, your personal, what you have to sell and what you're looking to buy. So it's not a one size fits all. We'd love to run through it. We'd love to discuss what the opportunity might be for you and your family out there. Give me a call. Let's talk soon. I'm Brad Gannon from the Brad and Theo Real Estate Team.